What if King Solomon did not build his temple with human workers alone, but with demons forced into submission? According to the Testament of Solomon, an ancient non-canonical text, the legendary king received a celestial ring from the archangel Michael. Its sacred seal allowed him to summon, bind, and interrogate supernatural entities, uncovering their powers, their weaknesses, and even the angels capable of defeating them. Some were condemned to cut stone, carry water, prepare clay, and move structures no human workforce could lift. But among the many spirits brought before Solomon's throne, 5 were more dangerous, more powerful, and far more terrifying. Rest. Today you're going to meet the 5 most powerful demons Solomon was said to have subdued. Stay until the end, because the final one may completely change the way you see this ancient story. Number 5. Ornias. Ornias was not the ruler of the demons, but he was the creature that opened the door to Solomon's entire war against the supernatural. According to the Testament of Solomon, a young worker employed at the construction of the temple began returning home weaker every day. His body became thin, his face lost its color, and half of his wages kept disappearing. When Solomon questioned him, the boy revealed the terrifying truth. Every evening, a demon named Ornias stole part of his payment and drained the life from his body. Solomon prayed for help, and the archangel Michael delivered a celestial ring engraved with a sacred. The king gave it to the worker and ordered him to use it when Ornias returned. That night, the demon came expecting another helpless victim. Instead, the boy pressed the ring against him. Ornias was thrown violently to the ground and dragged before Solomon's throne, unable to resist the power of the seal. The king interrogated him, demanding his name, his abilities, and the angel capable of defeating him. Then Solomon sentenced Ornias to cut stones for the temple. But his most important task came next. Solomon ordered the captive demon to descend into the spiritual realm and bring back the one who ruled over the others. Ornias may only be number 5, but without his capture, Solomon would never have reached the far more dangerous entities waiting above him. Number 4. Asmodeus. If Ornias attacked the body, Asmodeus targeted something far more dangerous: human desire. In the Testament of Solomon, Asmodeus is brought before the king as a violent and destructive spirit, associated with lust, jealousy, broken marriages, and bloodshed. He was not a creature that simply hid in darkness. His power worked through people, turning attraction into obsession, affection into possession, and small conflicts into acts of violence. When Asmodeus stood before Solomon, the king demanded to know his name, his purpose, and which heavenly power could defeat him. The demon revealed that the archangel Raphael had authority over him, the same angel connected to his defeat in the ancient story of Tobit. Solomon raised the sacred ring, and the seal forced Asmodeus into submission. The king then sentenced him to work on the temple, carrying water and preparing clay for the construction. But Asmodeus represented a threat that chains could never completely solve. Imagine him looking around the royal court, at Solomon's wealth, his servants, his power, and the growing number of women surrounding him. Then, with a cruel smile, he asks, "You condemn me for ruling the desires of men, but who will rule yours?" That line is a dramatization, but it points toward the darker ending of Solomon's own story. Years later, the Bible says that the king's desires and foreign relationships helped turn his heart away from God. Asmodeus takes the 4th position because his greatest weapon was not physical strength. It was the ability to make people believe that their most destructive desires were still under control. Number 3. Ephippus. Ephippus was a demon of the Arabian winds, a force so violent that he was not brought to Jerusalem in chains, but trapped inside a sealed vessel. According to the Testament of Solomon, Solomon heard of a spirit terrorizing the desert regions beyond his kingdom. Men were sent to capture it, but Ephippus could not be restrained like an ordinary creature. He moved through sandstorms and shattered structures with sudden gusts and vanished into the air before anyone could reach him. The only way to contain him was to force him into a jar and seal the opening with a ring. When the vessel was carried into Solomon's presence, the king ordered it opened. The air inside the chamber immediately changed. Torches bent sideways, dust rose from the floor, and a figure formed from swirling sand, torn fabric, and compressed wind. Solomon demanded a demonstration of his strength. Nearby stood an enormous stone that the workers had been unable to lift, even with ropes, wooden machines, and hundreds of men. Ephippus surrounded the block with a violent spiral of air. The ground trembled, the scaffolding groaned, and the stone slowly rose above the construction site. The demon was then forced to place it exactly where Solomon commanded. But Ephippus revealed something even more extraordinary. He claimed that another ancient spirit remained trapped beneath a massive column at the bottom of the Red Sea, and that together they could bring it to Jerusalem. Ephippus earns the third position because he was more than a spirit that haunted individuals. He was an elemental force capable of turning the desert itself into a weapon and moving structures beyond human strength. Number 2. Abizithabad. Abizithabad was an ancient one-winged demon imprisoned beneath the Red Sea, where he had remained since the destruction of Pharaoh's army. According to the Testament of Solomon, he claimed to have lived in Egypt, strengthening Pharaoh's magicians during their confrontation with Moses. But when the sea collapsed over the Egyptian forces, Abizithabad was dragged into the depths and trapped beneath a colossal stone column. For generations, he remained conscious beneath the water, buried in darkness, surrounded by the remains of the kingdom he had tried to protect. When Solomon learned of his existence, he did not send an army to capture him. He entered the unfinished temple alone at night, placed the celestial ring against the stone floor, and invoked the sacred authority on its seal. Far away, the Red Sea began to convulse. Waves rose beneath a clear sky. The seabed split open, and the ancient column trembled for the first time in centuries. From beneath it emerged Abizithabad, enormous, covered in salt, corroded bronze and fragments of Egyptian ornaments, with a single vast wing unfolding through the black water. The demon attempted to resist the summons, wrapping himself around the column as the sea erupted above him. But Solomon raised the ring and spoke a command that reached across the distance like thunder. Golden symbols burned across the demon's body. The waters separated around him, and Abizithabad was torn from the depths together with the massive column that had served as his prison. He appeared above Jerusalem, inside a storm of seawater, roaring as the column descended toward the temple. Workers fled while the ground shook beneath its weight. Solomon did not move. Standing before the giant spirit, the king extended the sealed ring. Luminous chains erupted from the symbol, wrapped around Abizithabad's single wing, and forced the ancient demon to his knees. Solomon then bound him to the very column that had imprisoned him beneath the sea, commanding him to hold it suspended as part of the temple's construction. The ancient demon had escaped one prison only to enter another. The column that had held him beneath the Red Sea now became the instrument of his punishment, bound to him by Solomon's sacred seal. Abizithabad takes the second position because he was not a spirit discovered hiding among ordinary men. He was a surviving power from the age of Moses, an entity that had endured divine judgment, centuries beneath the sea and the crushing weight of an impossible structure. Yet when Solomon raised the seal, even this ancient demon was forced to kneel. Number 1. Beelzebul. At the highest point of the demonic hierarchy stood Beelzebul, the spirit who identified himself as the Prince of Demons and claimed authority over countless beings of darkness. When he was summoned before Solomon, he did not arrive crawling, screaming, or bound like a defeated animal. He entered the unfinished temple like a fallen king. His enormous black wings reflected shades of poisoned green and dead gold. Fragments of corrupted celestial armor covered his body, while his face still carried traces of the beauty he claimed to possess before his fall. The air grew heavy around him, flames turned black, workers collapsed to their knees, and the shadows of the columns stretched toward his feet as if recognizing their master. Solomon raised the sacred ring. Beelzebul did not kneel. For the first time, the seal met resistance. The demon opened his wings, and a violent wave of darkness tore through the chamber. Stone cracked beneath Solomon's feet. The king was thrown against the steps of his throne, and the ring nearly slipped from his hand. Beelzebul moved closer. "You command lesser spirits, but you have mistaken borrowed authority for power of your own." Solomon stood again and pressed the ring toward him, invoking the sacred seal. Golden symbols appeared in the air, but Beelzebul shattered them with a single movement of his hand. The darkness closed around the king. The unfinished temple disappeared beneath a vision of ruin. Solomon saw Jerusalem burning, his throne overturned, and his name forgotten. Then the demon offered him something even more dangerous. He offered knowledge. Beelzebul promised to reveal every hidden mystery of heaven and earth, every weakness of kings, and every secret possessed by spirits, if Solomon would lower the ring. For one moment, the wisest man alive hesitated. The seal began to fade. Then Solomon fell to his knees, not before the demon, but before God. He placed both hands against the stone and prayed, "Lord of heaven, this authority was never mine. Remember your servant. Let your name, not my pride, command what stands before me." The temple trembled. A pillar of blinding light descended through the open ceiling and struck the ring. Its seal ignited like a miniature sun, burning across Solomon's hand without consuming him. Beelzebul roared and spread his wings, gathering every shadow in the chamber around his body. He pushed against the light, step by step, almost reaching the king. Solomon rose inside the radiance. His white hair and beard moved in the force of the supernatural wind, his sunburned face illuminated by golden fire. He no longer looked merely like a king. He stood like a divine sorcerer, an earthly ruler wielding authority that came directly from the throne of God. Solomon extended his hand and spoke the command. The seal erupted. Chains of celestial light wrapped around Beelzebul's wings, throat, and arms. The demon tore through the first chains, then the second. He reached toward Solomon, his fingers stopping only inches from his face. But more symbols appeared across the floor, the walls and the columns, forming a vast sacred pattern around him. Beelzebul was driven to one knee, then both. The prince of demons lowered his head before Solomon. The king interrogated him, forcing him to reveal his rank, his works against humanity, and the heavenly power capable of opposing him. Then, as the ultimate humiliation, Solomon condemned the ruler of demons to labor in the temple, cutting and shaping marble beneath the authority of the same seal he had nearly broken. Beelzebul takes the first position because he possessed more than supernatural strength. He commanded other spirits, carried memories of a celestial existence, and nearly defeated Solomon by attacking the one weakness no ring could bind, the king's pride. Solomon did not defeat him because he was the wiser sorcerer. He defeated him because, at the moment of greatest danger, he remembered where his power truly came from. The Testament of Solomon tells of a king who forced demons to kneel, reveal their secrets, and labor on his temple. But the Bible records a darker ending. Solomon later allowed desire, wealth, and pride to turn his heart away from God. Perhaps that is the true warning of the legend. The man who controlled demons could not fully control himself. And if you want to discover the terrifying rulers who stand above the infernal hierarchy, watch the video appearing on your screen now about the most powerful princes of hell.